Well, yes, me making another video of me changing a radio once again. The reason I'm changing this radio, although I had upgraded with the MIB Harman radio, is that the MIB Harman radio does not play the rear speakers, and I don't like that at all. So I decided to change it again and put back the factory radio. So now I'm also removing the factory radio again. So I'm gonna be going back to another radio. So for now, I'm just gonna remove this one, then go over the other technicalities that are involved with installing this new radio. So for now, what I'm gonna do is to put the new trim plate on, because the radio that I'm gonna be replacing with is the single DIN radio. So for now, let's just get this one off, because this is not what we want. So now that this one is off, we can go ahead and put back the trim plate, because to put in the single DIN radio does not need all these to not be in. So I can put back everything together, then put back the single DIN radio inside. So here's the new trim plate that I need to put in before putting on the new radio. So let me just open it up. This is how it looks. So I bought it from an online store. So let me see how it goes inside. Let me just put this back inside, then bolt everything back together. Then we're gonna go over the other stuff. Okay, now that this is done, we're gonna put this back in later on in the video. So what I need to do right now is to go and show you what we need. So now I'm gonna go back into the house and go over a few things that we need to do. So here are the things that you're going to need to make sure that the radio works correctly. So this is the ISO harness, or this is the harness going to the radio from the car. This is going to get power from the car onto the radio. This is the quad lock that I bought from this other shop. The quad lock takes the factory quad lock, which goes onto the factory radio, and then connects onto this one. So I'll need to cut this off, then splice the wires to make sure that they connect with this. So these are very simple. They are color coded, so each and every color goes onto this. So this is the factory connector. Here's the part number. So this is the factory connector, a factory connector with an aerial boost. So this is an aerial boost. So you're gonna put this onto the new radio, which I'm going to show you later on in the video. So at this point, the thing that I need to do is to make sure that I connect these together, and then we're gonna go on. So let me just do that. Oh, I forgot, you also need the fuse tabs. I'm also going to show you what they do later on in the video. So if you want a good connection and a safe one, you need the fuse tabs, but you can still go ahead and install the radio even if you don't have the fuse tabs. But for a proper connection, I recommend that you get the fuse tabs.
Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. Way back before we blew it all. Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't alone. Take me back to an age when the world felt small. way back before we blew it all. Too many things going on, I can't keep track of them all. From people dropping a bomb to people putting up walls. I feel like life is on hold, perception stuck in a vault. I know that time can heal all, but how much time till we fall? It's awfully chilly outside when there's no shelter to hide. When everything is a lie, you'll find that out in some time. But when the things on your mind are all considered a crime, communication aside, we'll all just fight till we die. Is this an argument or just the start of it? Either way, I don't wanna be a part of it. Can I just get some space? I don't have the heart for this. I can't be picking up the pieces, fixing scars from this. Is this an argument or just the start of it? I wanna drive away so I can be so far from it. I wanna find a place where no one breaks their promises, or maybe drown myself in something that is bottomless. Take me back to a place where I felt at home. Take me back to a day when we weren't.
So this is the final product of the soldering that I've been doing. So I've also shrinked up the cables so that they are protected and they do not touch against each other. So the first two wires at the top are the CAN bus plus and the CAN bus minus, and the three wires at the bottom of the connector are the constant.
I know that things seem bad, but they could be much worse. There's always someone else who has a.
So the one that I'm showing you right now is the CAN bus plus, and the one below it is the CAN bus negative. The one that I'm showing you right now is the constant 12 volts, and the other one is the accessory switched on power, and the last one is ground. We can then now go on to the car. So right now I'm back in the car, and what I need to do is to fish the accessory switched on power from inside here up until here, so that I can be able to get to the fuses on this side. So right now let me try to fish the accessory switched on power through here, then I'll be able to get it onto the other side. Now what we're looking at right now is the fuses that control some electronics in the car. So the fuse that we're looking for is fuse number 42, which is for the cigarette lighter. So if you can look carefully inside this fuse panel, these fuses have numbers. It's from number 1 up to 48 or 51, I'm not really sure. So the 20 amps fuses are the ones which we are going to tap onto to get accessory switched on power onto the radio. So we're going to take this 20 amp fuse, which is fuse number 42, which is for the cigarette lighter, and then put on the fuse tap onto it. So it's going to be the one supplying power onto the radio when we turn on the key. So the radio will turn on with the key. So when we turn off the key, the radio will also turn off. So we're going to take power from the number 42 fuse. So right now what I'm doing is to check indeed if the number 42 fuse is the one which supplies power onto the car when the key is switched on. So as you can see right now on the multimeter, we are getting 12 volts when I've switched on the key. And when I remove the leads from the fuse, we are getting 0. So it means that we found the right fuse for tapping onto. So now that we're done with this tapping of the fuses, now let me show you how we're going to use the fuse tap. So another thing that I forgot to tell you is that we need to check which side is the draw side and which side is the supply side. So the draw side, as I'm mentioning it right now, is the side which takes power from the car and puts power onto the electronic device that needs to be supplied with power. So the fuse that I'm showing right now has no bridge in the middle, so it means the power coming from the draw side will not be able to go to the supply side where it's going to supply the device that we need to power up. So in this case, the radio. So we're going to be checking which side draws power and which side is getting supplied power by the fuses from the car. So after finding out which side draws power from the car and finding out which side supplies power to the car, we're then going to be able to know which way the fuse tab needs to be lined up, because it doesn't just go in any way. There's a specific way in which the fuse tab has to be lined up, because power goes on from the draw side like this and goes on to the device that you're trying to supply to. So when it's on like that, it means that even if the fuse that is at the top blows up, the one which is at the bottom will still be able to get power supplied onto it, because now power is moving in a series rather than in a parallel. So if it was moving in a parallel, it means if the one that is at the top blows up, the one that is at the bottom is not going to get power. Another thing to remember is that you cannot put a fuse which has more amps than the one which is at the bottom. So if you are going to put a 10 amp below, it means at the top you must put a 5 amp fuse. So in this case, we are going to put a 10 amp fuse, because a radio is supplied by a 10 amp fuse, and the one which was on the fuse tab is a 5 amp fuse. So we're going to remove that and put a 10 amp fuse, and then at the bottom we're going to put a 25 amp fuse, which was already supplying the cigarette lighter. As you can see right now, this fuse is a 5 amp fuse, and it was not going to work for us because the radio needs a 10 amp fuse, which is going to be able to handle the power supplied onto it. So now I'm putting back the 10 amp fuse onto the fuse tab. This is the one which is going to be supplying power onto the radio that we're going to be installing. So I'm just trying to figure out whether I should line it up however or in the proper way. But then we got, so now I'm just pushing it in. Just make sure that you push it in and it's very well seated so that it doesn't come off at any time. So right now I'm just trying to check for continuity, if we have continuity on the bottom part of the fuse tab. So if we do not have continuity on the bottom part of the fuse tab, that means that we have connected the fuse tab in the proper way. We have continuity from the draw side onto the supply. So we have no continuity at the bottom fuse tab slot. So I guess this is right. Now what we need to do is to put back the fuse that we found in the original position where we are going to be installing the fuse tab. So this is a 20 amp fuse. Like I said, the fuse at the bottom needs to be higher than the fuse at the top, and the fuse at the top needs to be lower than the fuse at the bottom. So right now I'm just trying to push back the fuse of the cigarette lighter, then connect the power onto the original position where we found the fuse of the cigarette lighter. I'm just having a difficult time trying to record and also get the fuse inside, but let me just try to put it back in. I'm also not sure on how I'm going to route the power cable which is going to be supplying power onto the radio, but yeah. So right now I'm just removing the fuse that I was using to check on which side is the draw side and which side is the supply side. So I think I'm just going to tuck this in on the other side. Yeah, I think I'm just going to tuck it in onto the other side. Let me just remove the fuse tab so that I can properly put it on the other side so that it doesn't even damage the wires or strip the wires accidentally. So I think in this way it's going to be a proper fit inside. Yeah, I hope you can see everything, and if you don't see everything, please feel free to ask me in the comments down below and I'll explain everything to you slowly. So now that we're done with this and the fuse, and the wire is tucked in nicely, we can then close up the fuse panel because our work on the fuse panel is done. So let me just take up the cover, then close up the fuse panel. I'm just putting in the fuse stripper. Now I'm just putting back the cover on, then we're going to get back inside the car again to finish up the remaining steps. And we're going to try and see if we have made a successful connection of tapping onto the fuse and making sure that the radio works fine. So now for the moment of truth, when I turn the keys on, this should light up. This red should light up when I light up the lights. So let's see. Okay, we're lighting up. This charger is also lighting up. It's lighting up blue. It's just that you won't see it, but it does light up blue. So I think we are good to go. So now for the radio that we're going to be installing, the radio that I chose is a Sony A416BT. So the radio comes with a remote and a mic. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna route the mic throughout the car. That's going to be a really challenging thing for me, but that's not the problem for now. So let me open up the radio. So right here is the faceplate, which is going to go on to the radio. This is the mic that I'll need to route throughout the radio. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but this needs to be done. And lastly, the radio itself. So here's the radio, and lastly the remote. Here's the remote. So here's the remote. Now I need to figure out how to route the mic. Let me get onto that. So the mic cable is now routed in as well. So here it comes out. What's next is to put this trim plate of the radio. You need this stuff to take out the radio from its pocket. So this is the stuff you need. I guess it's called the keys. So you need these keys, and also you need this thing to put at the back of the radio. It acts as a bump stop, I guess we can call it that. So let's screw the bump stop on at the back of the radio. Okay, nice. So the radio is not that long anyway, so it's not gonna reach there. So what I'm gonna do right now is remove this plate, then try to insert the radio inside. So I got to unlock them, so I can slide this out and put it inside. So this is going to go in like this, and all of this is going to go in through it. So this has to go into this. There are two wires that we're not going to use. There's this power wire which comes on and connect onto the factory quad lock connector. So we're not going to use this. We're also not going to use this because for the power we're going to use one which we tapped onto the fuse, and for this one we're not having any use for it. So let's then get things back together, then try to connect things up. So for now I'm just going to connect the Sony connector onto the quad lock from the factory. So let's get this locked up together. Okay, then lock it up. This is locked up. Then put this thing on. So what we need to do right now is slide this thing. This will need to go onto the Velcro connectors. Actually, let me just connect the Velcro connectors as well. Let's connect you up. clicks. Clicks as well. So these are all connected. So as you are now connected, you can go back in. Another money, so it can go back in. And what else are we going to need? I think that's all. So let me just slide this back up and get the things that we need to connect onto the radio out. So these are going in. I'm still having an opportunity to sort them out because I have this space underneath, so I'm still going to be able to sort things out. What the hell is up with these tabs? Since when were they an issue going in? So now let's try on the radio. So mic, let's get the mic in. This is a really long ass mic. I'm not gonna push it in for now because I want to see if everything is all good. The aerial connector should be on this side. It should be on this side, at the back inside. Yeah, like that. Then you come in here. Okay, now let's put the faceplate on for now. Woo. Okay, guess this is how we start. Now let me put the power connector in. You need to hear it click. Okay, now that's it. Woo. Okay, that's a good sign. That's really a good sign. I'm doing this with one hand, so it's going to be a bit difficult for me to do everything properly. But we're getting power, which is a good sign because it means the fuse is really tapped on. So, English. Time, we're going to look at that later. No device. Let me look for my aux cable and see if we have any sound at all. So, okay, source. Let's go for FM radio. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. I'm gonna turn this off because I'm afraid of the copyrights. I think for now, let me just turn it off and see. Okay, it does go off with the key. Turn on with the key. And it doesn't lose power, the time. So I guess everything is connected correctly. Now let me push back things inside and then we're going to sort them out from underneath because we still have space here. So let me put things back on and try to get this right. We're going to turn off this demo because I'm not going to have a Christmas tree. I'm just trying to make sure that no wires are pinched, because if that happens, we are in a way for disaster. No wires seems to be pinched so far. So what we need to see is whether we made a really good we did a really good job. So everything is in. I guess we are good. Let me just push this back home. I guess we're good. So things looks to be very good underneath here. So let me just put back the covering on. I think this is how it goes. Now we have back the space that we always wanted. So guys, thank you so much for watching until this far. So that's how you put back Sony radio onto the car. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time.
I'm taking 6 shots, yeah, straight to the face. And I wanna get lost, I'm sick of this place. Don't know how to stop when I'm feeling this way. So I'm taking 6 shots till I'm feeling okay.